December 16th through the 18th at the Red River Valley Fairgrounds. Tickets available at redrivervalleyfair.com.
970 WDAY AM and 93.1 FM, Fargo-Moorhead.
And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon, 103. I'm Meteorologist Justin Storm with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki and Ag Director Bridgette Readel. Nice cozy temperatures out there, but it's always got to be something, right, guys? A lot of fog around the area today, and I know there's a lot of talk about this potential storm coming up here the beginning of next week, but we're going to have to get through this fog over the next couple of days. Not to say it's going to be dense fog the entire time, but there are going to be periods where we do see some of this fog returning, and we'll touch on that here in just a moment. Dean, Bridgette, how's your afternoons going? Bridgette, I bet you yours is going a little better than ours, but what are you doing? Where are you at? Why don't you explain what's going on over there?
Well, we just pulled into tailgating for NDSU's playoff game tonight. So go Bison. We are here in the lot, as you can see over my shoulder. Tents and trailers are set up. Somebody's digging out an extra propane tank for another heater, it looks like. And we're going to make sure people are toasty warm, even though the temperatures outside aren't just too bad. And that fog has gotten better. I will tell you, on our way in today from northern Cass County, it wasn't too bad. Dean, am I on the right track for temperatures?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, temperatures, I don't know, did Justin describe this as cozy? I don't know what, maybe cozy for what, a penguin? I mean, it's cold. It's cold.
It's cozy compared to what it's been.
Well, that's true. You have a very valid point there. And you know what? And the winds aren't bad. The winds aren't bad at all. So light winds, we can take temperatures in the 20s without much sunshine out there. But yeah, we're going to have some quiet weather over the next few days. Patchy fog here and there. Some of that will be dense as we head even into the weekend before a major storm system. This is a biggie as it rides off the Pacific and into the Rockies, and that's going to tap Gulf of Mexico moisture and drive that northward. And as it does, we'll see our precip start. It looks like sometime on Tuesday, probably Tuesday early, maybe even Monday night into Tuesday morning, and then we're going to look at some heavy snow during the day on Tuesday. But, boy, some of the it's amazing to see the similarities in the models in terms of forecast amounts. Usually you'll get one model that over-forecasts or severely under-forecast it. But, boy, it doesn't look like many areas are going to get missed by this. And this is going to be something we'll be you probably won't want to shovel this stuff next week. You're going to want to snow blow it because it's going to be that wet, heavy snow as it rides in here Tuesday and probably lasting into Wednesday the way it looks right now as well.
Yeah, there's a couple of variables that go into that forecast, so we're going to take a look at what those models are showing right now, what may or may not happen with that storm system coming up here on Weather and Ag in Focus. Also, a few topics we're going to try and get to today, ag related. There's a couple we didn't get to yesterday, but potato farmers and donations to Grand Forks Homeless Shelter. We're going to find out a little bit about that, what's going on up here in Grand Forks with the potatoes, and pink at the pump. I wonder what that could be about. Well, I'm sure Bridgette's going to let us know all about that and a little bit more. But we also have our guest after that as well today, and that's going to be Sarah Lovas, and we're going to be talking about soils over winter. So if you'd like to call in during our show at any point, ask us a question, a comment, join in on the conversation, feel free to do so. Pick up that phone, give us a phone ring, 701-293-9000. Again, that phone number, 701-293-9000. Or you can always reach us via email at weatherorag@flagfamily.com. And also remember, you can find us on Facebook and YouTube, Weather and Ag in Focus, where we live stream our shows every single day. And now we're going to come back. We'll take a look at that forecast and one of those ag topics. But first, we're going to get you updated with the latest news and headlines from ABC News.
From ABC News, I'm Richard Cantu. As many as 3 million union workers, mainly in the Midwest and South, who saw their pension funds fail, will get some measure of relief. Congress agreed to let President Biden use $36 billion unused COVID relief dollars to shore up those pensions.
Like so many Americans, they work hard today to secure retirement for tomorrow. But over the years, due to changing economic trends, persistent attacks on unions, over 200 of these multi-employer plans were facing potential insolvency.
The House passed and sent to the president the Respect for Marriage Act, requiring states to recognize same-sex and mixed-race marriages. For Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, it's personal.
My wife and I are so proud that our daughter and her wife are expecting their first child, my third grandchild, in the new year.
Mr. Biden to sign it into law in a matter of days. Freed by Russia, WNBAer Brittany Griner is expected back in the U.S. today. She was swapped for notorious arms dealer Victor Bout.
He is accused of fueling some of the bloodiest conflicts in Africa in the 1990s and early 2000s. He's accused of having the blood of tens of thousands of people probably on his hands.
ABC's Patrick Readel. Griner's first stop is Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio. Federal, state, and tribal officials have agreed on a plan to remove 4 dams on the Klamath River running through Oregon and Northern California. It's a major step in restoring a once thriving watershed tribal communities have long relied on. Interior Secretary Deb Haaland.
The culmination of nearly 2 decades of efforts of finding a path to remove the dams, open up hundreds of miles of historic salmon habitat, improve water quality, and restore the river and the fishery the basin tribes have relied upon since time immemorial.
You're listening to ABC News.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Some things are never really a choice. Like wearing your muddy boots in the house, quitting before the job's done, buying seed without service. They just don't make sense. That's why AgriGold gives you the best of both worlds. We're big enough to deliver top-tier genetics and traits, but small enough to give you the personalized service you need to thrive. Because like you, we know choosing seed without service isn't really a choice. Need help choosing? Learn more at ChooseAgriGold.com.
Did you know there are 6 main types of corn? There's flour corn, waxy maize, sweet corn, popcorn, dent, and flint. Corn's scientific name is Zea maize. The word maize most likely comes from a Latin American Aboriginal tribe's name for corn, which meant life giver. Due to the unusual adaptability of corn seeds, every state in the United States has land capable of growing some type of corn, despite differences in soil and climate. These farm facts brought to you by the American Ag Network.
Would you enjoy having 3 hot meals a day? Someone did your dishes, laundry, and helped manage your health concerns. For over 125 years, the Veterans Home has been providing quality care for veterans and their spouses. You were there for us. Now let us be there for you. Call us at 701-683-6500 or visit ndvh.nd.gov.
This ad is sponsored by the North Dakota Cares Coalition and aired in cooperation with the North Dakota Broadcasters Association and this station.
Your best source for news, weather, and sports, and all things happening here in Fargo-Moorhead is WDAY Midday. That's right. Join me, News Director Kyle Cornell, and my news team as we tell the stories you want to hear about that affect you.
We're going to have to take a look at programs that maybe are low enrollment, high cost.
Next mayor comes in, can I have things, in a sense, set up so that it's a sustainable community?
So make sure to turn that dial to WDAY Midday. It's weekdays from 11 to 1 right here at AM 970 and FM 93.1 WDAY.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. 112 this afternoon, 27 degrees outside Fargo, but visibility only at 2 miles right now. And around the area, we're dealing with fog, dense fog advisories issued throughout eastern North Dakota. And that's where bulk of this fog is. It's just eastern North Dakota. Once you get into western Minnesota, it starts to taper off. Like I said, 2 mile visibility here in Fargo, but Jamestown, Hillsboro, Grand Forks, Drayton, Devils Lake, half mile to only less than a quarter mile of visibility with that fog. And some of this fog going to be sticking around throughout most of the day. Could even see some more tonight, and even some more dense fog as we head into Saturday night. And outside of that, the big thing that people really want to know about is this big storm that's supposed to be coming into the area next week. And I mean, it does look like a pretty impressive storm system. And Dean, you and me have been looking quite a bit at this storm over the last few days. Why don't we kind of go over what the models are starting to show, what those trends are looking like with this storm that looks to be coming in Monday night and possibly not even exiting until Thursday.
Yeah, and you know, it's a large storm system, and it's kind of detached from the main jet, and that is going to cause this thing to move so slow. And with it moving slow, it's going to have ample moisture that's going to be pulled in from the Gulf of Mexico. Now, with that being said, depending on the strength of this system, but we were commenting earlier, Justin, that our European model is trying to wrap dry air into this. I've seen that happen many times, where you'll get your quick burst of snow and then the dry air gets sucked into the system and the precip basically shuts down for the most part. Now, even with that being said, the European model was still cranking out about 6 to 10 inches before the dry air kind of got pulled into the system. If we don't see dry air get pulled into the system, I could see us getting a little bit more than that. But it looks like areas that'll get the lesser amounts look to be over into Lakes Country, and the heaviest amounts look to be somewhere just west of the valley. Pinpointing that at this standpoint is kind of difficult, but there will be some areas that they receive the heavier snowfall will get, it looks like a foot or more, where areas that don't receive as much, probably, I'm guessing around 6 inches off into Lakes Country, and then the closer the further west you go, the higher the amounts will be. So again, this is still quite a few days away, so the track of this storm I'm sure will change between now and then. But the one thing, all of our models are giving us at least 6 inches. It's the first time I've seen all the models agree with at least that in quite some time. So that kind of sets the alarm bells off that, you know, this is going to be something to deal with. And I think the worst part of the storm is going to be next Tuesday. It will last into Wednesday and possibly even early Thursday, but I think the worst part of it is going to be Tuesday. At least that's the way it stands right now. So if you have any travel plans, North or South Dakota, both states, no one's really going to get missed by the snow. So if you have any travel plans, North, South Dakota, or even into Minnesota, please keep up to date on the forecast. You might want to change your travel plans and alter them in some way. You're not going to want to be out on the roadways towards early and middle part of next week.
So earlier when we had our weather. When we had our weather special on Wednesday, y'all were talking about a rain-snow line mix possibly somewhere down around the North and South Dakota line. Has that changed and we've moved it all over to snow at this point?
Well, it looks like at the onset, we could see a rain-snow mix, maybe even freezing rain right around the valley, maybe points eastward. I think out west it's going to be all snow, and that could affect our snow totals as well. Do we start this out as rain or a rain-snow mix or even freezing rain? If we do, obviously that's going to cut down on the snow totals. So it's a tight call on that, but other than that, I don't see us getting missed by this storm. I would say it's a safe bet to say we're going to see at least 6 inches. Could that change? Sure it could. You know, I mean, if we get this thing to slow down and it moves a little further west than expected, and we get that dry air pulled in here a little sooner, that would also limit snowfall totals as well. So there's a lot of variables with this, but this is going to be a big storm, going to produce severe weather on its front side from, let's say, probably, maybe as far north as Nebraska and Iowa, but I think better chance of severe weather just south of there with this system. So it's going to have everything with it. Mother Nature's throwing everything but the kitchen sink at us as we head into next week.
Hey, you watch out! You might see that flying through the sky.
You
at
might
some
see,
point.
yeah. And this is that heavy wet stuff. You're not going to want to shovel this. You're going to want to snow blow this, and there's going to be quite a bit of wind with this as well. So, yeah, just be ready. It could be a pretty significant storm the way it's looking right now.
Yep, and we'll continue to keep you updated on this throughout the rest of today as well as on social media over the weekend. And remember to check back here on Monday for the latest updates on the track, intensity, and where it looks like that heaviest snow is going to be residing. Right now, kind of looks like that dividing factor is setting up along the Red River Valley with lesser amounts east and heavier amounts to the west. But we'll touch on that more throughout the show and throughout the upcoming weekend and the next week. But we're going to take a short moment here, get our guest all squared away. Sarah Lovas is going to be joining us when we return. So have that phone number ready if you want to give us a call. If you have any questions about soil sampling, soils over the winter, 701-293-9000. Stay tuned. Weather and Ag in Focus. We'll be right back.
You heard the news that Twitter censored conservatives big time. They also suppressed information about Hunter Biden's laptop. Now Eric Bolling is on Newsmax, exposing Twitter's war on President Trump. Tune in tonight to watch Eric Bolling, The Balance, for news you need to know. And make sure you vote in Newsmax urgent poll. Do you want Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis as your candidate in 2024? Newsmax wants to know what you think. Vote in the Newsmax poll on Trump versus DeSantis. Just text the word ZONE to 39747. That's ZONE to 39747. Let your voice be heard. I tune into Newsmax for news I can trust. And remember, vote in Newsmax poll on Trump versus DeSantis. Text ZONE to 39747. That's ZONE to 39747. And make the switch to Newsmax. I did. You'll love it.
It's easy to think all money managers are pretty much the same. But at Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
Different? How? You sell high-commission investment products, right?
No. Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission-based investment products.
Well, you must earn commissions on trades.
Nope, never at Fisher. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in our client's best interest. It's the highest standard of care for a financial advisor.
How do you know what's in their best interest?
We get to know our clients and then tailor a portfolio based on their goals and needs.
But you probably sneak in some hidden and layered fees.
No, we have one transparent management fee, structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, you really do look out for your clients.
That's because our top priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. It might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investments and securities involve the risk of loss.
After 38 years of serving the FM area, the Hobby Hut is closing its doors. Their going out of business sale is wrapping up. Their last day is December 15th, and you can still find 60% off lots of model paint, model railroad supplies, and radio control car parts and accessories. So if you're looking for any of those items, you got to check it out, Hobby Hut. Take advantage of their going out of business sale, which ends December 15th. At the Hobby Hut, between IHOP and Home Depot, just off 45th Street and 17th Avenue South in Fargo. The Hobby Hut.
North Dakota is a special place.
Oil and gas supports more than 60,000 jobs in the state of North Dakota.
And the industry is vital to our economy, adding nearly $4 billion in state and local tax revenues.
Why would we buy oil from dictators when we have it right here? We produce it the cleanest, the greenest of anywhere in the world.
Keep creating great jobs, and right here in North Dakota.
We support North Dakota oil and gas.
Paid for by American Experiment, North Dakota. AmericanExperimentND.org.
It's Jay and Ronnie from the Coffee Club, and we love MyPillow. We absolutely love the Giza Dream Sheets, made with the world's best cotton, grown only in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. Its long staple cotton makes it ultra soft and breathable.
Yeah, let me tell you, this 400 thread count, they are fantastic sheets. They are warm when you need to be warm. They are cool when you need to have very thin layer between you and the mattress. It is a fantastic night's sleep with Giza Dream Sheets. 60-day money-back guarantee, machine washable and durable, and a 10-year warranty.
Available in multiple colors, styles, and sizes. All right now for a great low price of $29.99 with promo code WDAY. All you need to do is go to mypillow.com, go to listener radio special box, put in the promo code WDAY. mypillow.com, go to listener radio special box, put in the promo code WDAY.
Promo code WDAY.
And welcome to WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Bridgette, Readel Ag Director, along with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki and Justin Storm, Meteorologist Extraordinaire. Therefore, this is our segment where we bring in our guest, and this is a fan favorite who's returning to join us. Sarah Lovas is from Hillsboro, North Dakota. Sarah, you have a pretty deep interest in soils, and I can't wait to ask you about it right now. Meanwhile, tell us who you are and what you do that brings you so close to the soil.
Okay, well, thanks. Thank you so much for having me on today. I really appreciate it. And thank you for giving me a platform to talk about, by far and away, my favorite topic, soil. I am Sarah from Hillsboro, North Dakota. I am an agronomist by trade. I've worked with farmers in agriculture for many years. I have a master's degree in soil science from NDSU, and it quickly became my favorite part of agronomy. There's so much to soil. I think sometimes we overlook what is happening with the soil all around us because it's below our feet. We just kind of take it for granted, and all of a sudden there's flowers that grow out of it or crops that grow out of it, and we don't really ever think about what's going on with our soil. But it's dynamic, it's fun, they're beautiful, to be honest with you. If you've ever had a chance to actually take a look at soil, it's actually really fun to look at as well. And so, so what do you want to talk about when it comes to soil?
Sarah, okay. I've got a question here, and this might not have anything to do with soil, but I figured I'd throw it your way anyway. So I had never heard of snow mold until I moved up here into the Northern Plains. And is that affected by soil, or does soil affect snow mold in our area?
Wow, that's a really good question, and that's a really tough question too.
Right off the bat, right?
Right off the bat. I'm going to be honest. I don't know if I have a good answer for that. I'm not sure if soil actually does affect that. I know I've seen quite a bit of that snow mold in certain years. Right around here in the Fargo area, going all the way up through the Red River Valley. But I'm not exactly sure what causes it. Now, if I remember correctly, listening to some of the horticulturalists that I know, I think it probably isn't that hazardous to the actual grass itself, and eventually the grass just kind of overcomes it for the most part. But I'm not exactly sure what causes snow mold or what effect soil has on that, to be honest.
Okay. No, fair enough.
Yeah. So,
but Dean's right. It's a real thing. Snow mold really does exist up here underneath once the snow melts.
Oh, absolutely. And there's some years where it's actually been pretty tough.
So to ask another question, soil, why can't I call it dirt, Sarah? You always tell me I can't.
Oh, no, dirt is dead and soil has life. There's a very big difference. Dirt is what's underneath your fingernails. Dirt is what you sweep up in your dustpan and throw in your trash. But soil is what you find in your garden. Soil is what you have in your field. Soil is what produces life. And so I never sing praises of dirt, but I always sing the praises of soil.
Okay, so what's a farmer thinking about right now as far as soil health this winter? Is there we're past the point where we worry about our soil temperatures, etc. What's going on? Is it just in hibernation? And what should a farmer be planning for spring for best soil health? Any way to start that conversation?
Yeah, so, hopefully at this point in time, the farmers have had that opportunity to get soil sampling done last fall. normally as an agronomist, I really highly recommend that farmers soil sample every acre that they possibly can in the fall of the year, if it's possible, so that they really understand what nutrients are available for plant growth the next year. If for some reason you weren't able to get that soil sample done, and especially if you're planning on having some kind of a nitrogen using crop next year, I would think about possibly getting that field soil sampled so that you really know what's out there. But the other thing that we're really watching this time of the year, I'd say probably a couple things. The soil moisture situation that we have going on, how dry or wet is our soil going into winter, and then also are our soils actually frozen at this point in time? And then farmers like to watch how long that soil is going to be frozen or how deep that soil freezes, all of those sorts of things, because that can really impact how we make some plans in the spring of the year. Yeah.
So feeding off of that, you had just mentioned that, depending on how deep the soil is frozen, how long it's going to be frozen, what kind of decisions are people making based on that kind of information? What does the length of how long the ground is frozen for, besides how soon you can probably plant your seed, what else are they making decisions based on that?
So that's a great question. And actually, we saw challenges with frozen soil pretty late in the year, actually, in 2022. There was a lot of farmers were talking about how wet the soil was. And we ran into some rains there earlier on that made some things challenging. But one of the bigger challenges was how long it took for the frost to come out. Around the Hillsborough area, I don't think we actually had the frost come out of the ground until about June 14th. So the middle of June. And for some of these crops, like your corn, we really like to see corn have that warmer soil temperature with it, and plant it, last week of April, beginning of May. And corn does not like a cold seed bed. And so, in those situations, as a farmer is going forward here, one of the things that farmers can kind of watch is, okay, how at this time of the year, we're just going to be watching what's going on. We'll have to make our decisions closer to planting time, but we're just kind of watching and monitoring what's happening. So you can kind of see how deep the frost lines are going. And actually, if you go to the NDON website, there is actually data on NDON that will show frost depth on there, which is super fascinating. And so you can watch that and kind of see how deep it's gone, because that can be an indicator of how much frost we have to get out of the ground next spring to get us to that point where we can make that good seed bed. And then, of course, going into next spring, it of course depends upon what the temperatures are like, and when we get moisture and how that frost comes out of the ground as well, for how long it takes to get the frost out.
Okay, so here's a follow-up on this. In the fall, going into a winter, what would be more of an ideal condition that you would want to be occurring before winter happens that would maybe be more beneficial into the spring? Would a really wet fall be kind of a bad idea because the ground gets to hold more water? That's more water in the ground that can freeze. It can freeze deeper. Is that kind of along those lines of things you look at?
Absolutely. And also that's a big indicator of what the flooding potential is in the spring of the year as well. And, obviously water warms up and cools down, or changes temperature, I should say, much slower than air does. And so when you've got your soil pores completely filled with water, that soil temperature is going to change much slower than if it's a drier soil and filled with more air. And so it's also an indication of a slower soil temperature warm up in the spring of the year as well. So that's always interesting. But yeah, wet seed beds are very challenging. Now, of course, I think you asked the question: would we kind of like to see a drier soil or a wetter soil? And of course, my answer to that, of course, is always going to be I would like to have a soil at field capacity with the ideal moisture regime, just the perfect amount in there, that not to be picky or anything, But of course, that's what we all want.
That was going to be my last question before we head to break, but just because we're talking about it, I might as well ask now than after our upcoming break. How much water can soil actually hold? Like, say, like an acre of soil. What's the water holding capacity of that? And sure, maybe it's going to vary a little bit based on what that material is, but do you have any idea on what that might be?
Actually, it can vary a lot. And especially in our area right here. And you wouldn't think that, but around the Fargo area with the soil type that we have there with the clay content, it can hold a lot of water. And you don't have to go very far west, or if you're on the Minnesota side, east, where you start getting outside of the valley and you find some sandier soils. And that sand is really quite different in its water holding capacity or lack thereof. The water just goes straight through and it just cannot hold water. So it really is quite a bit different between different soil types. And even right here in your listening area for your listeners.
Yeah, I had heard that some soils can hold like 25,000 gallons of water per acre. I thought that was crazy.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
water.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, absolutely. It's
right.
a
Well,
lot.
Sarah,
You wouldn't think it's that much, but.
Right, I definitely didn't. We're going to take a short moment here. We're going to catch a few bits of news and some commercials here at the bottom of the hour. But when we return, we'll continue this conversation with Sarah. And if you have any questions or you want to join in on our conversation, feel free to do so. Pick up the phone. Give us a phone call, 701-293-9000. Again, that number is 701-293-9000. Weather and Ag in Focus will return in just a moment.
Olivet Lutheran Church in Fargo invites you to our special jazz worship services this Sunday morning at 8:30 and 10:30. We'll be singing traditional hymns you know by heart, accompanied by the best jazz musicians and vocalists in the Fargo-Moorhead area. Olivet Lutheran Church offers in-person and online worship services every Sunday morning at 8:30 and 10:30 and Wednesday evenings at 6. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, or online at olivet.org. See you this Sunday for jazz worship. Encounter Jesus, experience grace. Olivet Lutheran Church.
From the tower of the Cass County Courthouse to the Black Building and everywhere in between, we've been there for the biggest events in the history of Fargo and Moorhead. Celebrate 100 years of broadcast radio with the biggest names and moments of those 100 years here on WDAY. We're also giving you a chance to win $100 every Thursday all year long. Find all the details at WDAYradionow.com. And thank you for 100 years of memories. We look forward to another 100 years of service to Fargo, Cass County, and to you.
Why High Plains Apache? Well, there are so many reasons it's why High Plains Apache. Ask your neighbors about their sales and service or new and used deals on sprayers. The parts and service department, and yes, a very well-respected sales department. Everything you'll need to get started this season with the sprayers for your operation. You'll find out a lot more at the website, High Plains Apache Sprayers. You'll find them at highplainsapache.com. That's highplainsapache.com.
The chilly weather is here whether we like it or not. And the team at Precision Concrete Cutters Ramjack North wants you to know that because Mother Nature doesn't rest this time of year, neither do we. The frost and snow create moisture in the ground, and this can cause stress on your foundation. Precision Concrete Cutters Ramjack North, we have the solution for every basement problem.
So when Mother Nature strikes, contact your complete foundation experts, the team at Precision Concrete Cutters Ramjack North. Go to pccnd.com. That's pccnd.com.
Are you suffering from neuropathy? Do you experience stabbing, numbness, tingling, or burning in your feet? Are you tired of sleepless nights and avoiding life due to pain? If you've been diagnosed with neuropathy or have pain or numbness in your feet, call us right now before it's too late at 701-929-7505. Again, 701-929-7505. Neuropathy is a very serious and progressive disease where your nerves start to break down. It can lead to balance problems, complete loss of independence, and in some cases, amputation. Our program addresses the underlying causes and doesn't simply mask your symptoms with medication. In fact, many patients start to feel relief from their symptoms within weeks. There's no surgery and no use of prescription drugs. Pick up the phone and call now at 701-929-7505 or find out if you're a candidate for our neuropathy program that has changed thousands of lives. Call us today at 701-929-7505.
Terry, so talk about doing business with DJ Coulter and American Family Insurance.
DJ is one of those insurance agents that's always going to be there for you. And he's always got great advice for a young family starting out, for an old family. We've got all our cars through DJ, our RVs and our boats. We took out a couple cash value life insurance policies, wanted to do long-term after we retire. DJ helped us through the steps on that.
DJ Coulter, American Family Insurance, 235-6641, djcoulter.com.
No matter what season it is, you want an ice-cold beverage that's not going to slow you down. You want a Mick Ultra or a Mick Ultra Pure Gold. Michelob Ultra is the superior light beer that goes down smooth with only 96 calories and 2.6 carbs. And Michelob Ultra Pure Gold is brewed with organic grains from the finest fields to craft a crisp taste with no artificial flavors or colors. And only 85 calories and 2.5 carbs. You make the winning choice. Mick Ultra or Mick Ultra Pure Gold.
You heard the news that Twitter censored conservatives big time. They also suppressed information about Hunter Biden's laptop. Now Eric Bolling is on Newsmax, exposing Twitter's war on President Trump. Tune in tonight to watch Eric Bolling, The Balance, for news you need to know. And make sure you vote in Newsmax urgent poll. Do you want Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis as your candidate in 2024? Newsmax wants to know what you think. Vote in the Newsmax poll on Trump versus DeSantis. Just text the word ZONE to 39747. That's ZONE to 39747. Let your voice be heard. I tune into Newsmax for news I can trust. And remember, vote in Newsmax poll on Trump versus DeSantis. Text ZONE to 39747. That's ZONE to 39747. And make the switch to Newsmax. I did. You'll love it.
Pucklet Chevrolet Buick GMC in Valley City makes it easy to find your next Chevrolet Buick GMC or pre-owned vehicle by offering a great selection at our best prices possible.
Welcome to WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Bridgette Readel, Ag Director, along with meteorologist Dean Wysocki, he's the chief, and Justin Storm, he's the extraordinaire. Thrilled to have you joining us this afternoon, and our guest, Sarah Lovas. Sarah is all about soil. She's up at Hillsborough, North Dakota. She's an agronomist with a passion for soils. And Dean, you mentioned you might have a question to kick things off.
Yeah, so Sarah, what impact do earthworms have on the soil? Are they beneficial? Does it matter?
You know, that is a great question. And I am going to tell you, it depends on where you're at, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, I know that's not all the information that you get all the time. You know, it sounds like most of the time earthworms should be a great measure of soil health. And in a lot of places, like in our prairie soils that we have right around here in the Fargo area, or for most of the farming area that's probably listening to this broadcast, they are generally an indication of really healthy soils. They really help with, cycling organic matter, and their excretions can help aggregate the soil together into the aggregates, which help provide soil stability and good soil structure. But there are actually places where earthworms, and especially night crawlers, can get to be kind of a big issue. When you go over actually into Minnesota into some of the more forest soils, those soils have a layer on top called the O horizon, which is the organic matter horizon. And so when the leaves fall from the trees, there gets to be this layer of organic matter on the surface. And that's actually a really critical component of those forest soils. And if night crawlers get out there, they cycle that organic matter into the soil so quickly that O horizon no longer exists. And so actually in those situations, they're not very good for soils, and they're actually kind of a pest. And so if you go fishing in Minnesota, one of the worst things that you could possibly do for soil is to just throw your night crawlers out if you haven't used them all as bait. So yeah, very interesting. In some places they're good, and in some places they're not good for soil.
So Sarah, I've got someone who's interested in maybe doing some soil improvement with cover crop. And the concern is that those soils may be a little salty, as in like alkali. And will that have an effect on a cover crop if you're using like a turnip, radish, rutabaga type of mix, anything like that?
That is a great question. And so I think it's really great, first of all, that farmers are going to be more and more interested in cover crops. One of the best things that you can do to have a healthy soil is to keep that soil covered as much as possible. And so cover crops is one way of doing that. Now, of course, when you've got, and one way to help improve the soil health in some of these places like salty soils where there's not a lot of plant material growing is to try to get something established. But it does depend upon how salty the soils are in those places for what the plant tolerance, what a plant can tolerate in that area. Different plants have different abilities to tolerate certain amounts of salt. Some tolerate it better than others. And so you need to work with get a soil test, figure out what your salinity level is in that soil, what your EC level is. And then with that information, you can come up with a cover crop mix that will work well to keep that soil covered and to get something established in that area. But yeah, different cover crops have different tolerances to salt. The other thing to keep in mind, especially when you're dealing with salt, if you don't have any plants growing in a certain area, one of the things that happens from that soil is that the moisture can evaporate from the surface more readily, and it leaves that salt behind. And so that salt becomes more concentrated there, which is another reason why it's so important to get that cover crop established, because you can leave it a little more covered and maybe help reduce some of that evaporation. So I hope you can get that figured out. If some things that are really tolerant to salt in certain situations, barley is usually a really good one. I understand that isn't a perennial or a biennial crop, but if you're really in a super salty situation, that probably is one of the better choices. And there's others out there too.
Okay.
You had mentioned that, here in the valley we're a bit clay, but you don't got to go too far and you start running into more sandier soils. How many different types of soils are there in our area? Is it just like clay, sand, black dirt, or what does that kind of look like around our area?
Okay, well, I'm going to help you out with something. We don't have any black dirt in our area. We do have black soil in our area.
There we go.
Sorry. But so it's a great question, and I'm going to take this back a little bit because soil is classified in a lot of different ways worldwide. There's actually 12 soil orders in the world, and all soils can get classified into that. Now, right here in our listening area, or in the listening area of this radio show, the most prominent of the soil orders are going to be vertisols, mollisols, and maybe some alphasols as you get into Minnesota. Okay, but let me back this up and explain it a little bit. The alphasols are those soils that are sort of underneath those forested soils over there in Minnesota, not underneath the coniferous trees, but the ones that are more under the deciduous trees that are a little bit further to the west in Minnesota, just outside of the prairie soils. And then the mollisols are what your prairie soils are. So when you think of what the pioneers crossed in North Dakota with the native prairies, most of that was these mollisols and big, huge, tall grasses. But those grasses had roots that went really deep too, and they actually put most of the carbon below the soil surface, which led to this really high organic matter rich soil. But then we've got these vertisols, and they're the soils that are right around the Fargo-Moorhead area, the Red River Valley, those really heavy, dense clays. If you've heard anybody talk about the Fargo clays, those are vertisol soils, and they are very special and actually very unique. There's not a lot of them in the world, and we happen to be blessed with them. And they're characterized by this high clay content, but the clay that is here is shrinking and swelling clays. So if you can think back to some years where we've had droughts, and you've seen those really big cracks in the soil, or where people have had issues with foundations cracking or buildings, or like years ago with Menard Hall falling in at NDSU's campus. Those are all issues that have been dealt with on these Fargo clays that are shrinking and swelling and moving. They're very dynamic. They have a big water holding capacity. They're very interesting soils. And so that's really what's in the Fargo-Moorhead area and in kind of in the Red River Valley area. So that's kind of what we have, I guess, in this area, if that helps you out.
Oh, definitely.
A lot, Sarah. Absolutely. So in just our last few moments, I would bet there's a little trivia question here that you know and not many others do, and that is, does North Dakota have its own state soil?
Of course, most states do. So North Dakota state soil is called the Williams soil, okay, and it is a mollisol prairie soil. Actually, I did a little bit of work. I also knew that the Minnesota soil was a Lester soil. I just knew those two. I did not know South Dakota's. It's South Dakota, so I looked that one up really quick before we came on air here, and that is actually a Hodak soil. But what's interesting about the South Dakota and the North Dakota state soils is that they're both these prairie-type soils, but really the big difference between them is really the temperature regime that they're in. So when we classify soils, it's not just only soil texture, organic matter, parent material, kind of where these soils have come from, but we also take into account the type of temperature regime where they're located. Because as you can imagine, soils that freeze all the time further to the north can behave differently than soils further to the south that might not be frozen quite as long or different amounts of time. And so really one of the big differences is that. So yeah, and then Lester soil over in Minnesota happens to be that alpha salt type soil that I was talking about earlier. So that's probably more information that you needed to know about state soils.
But you're that good at this, Sarah. And honestly, that's why we have you on every time there are questions about what's going on in our soils. And for people who have more questions, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Sarah Lovas 1.
Excellent. And that would be a fun spot to join us because I'm there too a lot. So we're going to catch up with what's going on with the American Ag Network with our markets. We'll be back right after that.
After 38 years of serving the FM area, the Hobby Hut is closing its doors. Their going out of business sale is wrapping up. Their last day is December 15th, and you can still find 60% off lots of model paint, model railroad supplies, and radio control car parts and accessories. So if you're looking for any of those items, you got to check it out, Hobby Hut. Take advantage of their going out of business sale, which ends December 15th. At the Hobby Hut, between IHOP and Home Depot, just off 45th Street and 17th Avenue South in Fargo. The Hobby Hut.
They say it's good to be king. And that is true. But to be king of all the Comfort King, bears great responsibility. For all Comfort King sleepers are protected by the Lifetime Comfort Guarantee and our soft spot warranty. So welcome all to the land of comfort. Come to Comfort King.
Visit us at Comfort King, I-94 and 45th Street, or at comfortking.net.
Celebrating 100 years with $100. Listen every Thursday all year long as we thank you for being a loyal WDAY listener. This is our year, and we want to make it yours too by giving you cash. Listen during Bonnie and Friends, The Coffee Club, WDAY Midday, and The Jay Thomas Show. And if you hear the cue to call, be caller 9 and win $100 from the station celebrating 100 years all year long. AM 970 and FM 93.1 WDAY.
Your new one-stop shop for the latest in news, weather, sports, and community happenings is WDAYRadioNow.com. Stay up to date online, on your phone, on the go. Interviews with newsmakers, all your favorite local shows on demand. For those days when you don't want to miss anything. Get your forecast so you're always in the know when it comes to the weather. And find information on shows and personalities. If it's happening now, it's happening on WDAYRadioNow.com. That's WDAYRadioNow.com.
North Dakota, is a special place.
Oil and gas supports more than 60,000 jobs in the state of North Dakota.
And the industry is vital to our economy, adding nearly $4 billion in state and local tax revenues.
Why would we buy oil from dictators when we have it right here? We produce it the cleanest, the greenest of anywhere in the world.
Keep creating great jobs, and right here in North Dakota.
We support North Dakota oil and gas.
Paid for by American Experiment, North Dakota. AmericanExperimentND.org.
Hey, you missed the turn. We just passed Brockmeyer Tile and Stone. It's back there.
Where are we going?
Brockmeyer Tile and Stone, you know.
They specialize in custom granite and quartz fabrication and installation.
And laser measuring, so we don't have to worry about a thing. I hear their projects are always amazing.
Brockmeyer Tile and Stone, just south of Costco on Veterans Boulevard.
Granite and quartz, it's what we do, baby.
Wheat market under pressure with quarter beans mixed on Friday. This is the American Ag Network. I'm Jesse Allen with this closing market update. Well, the December WASDE report came and went with little changes, which was as expected. Typically, it is a quiet report. Few changes to note, though. USDA slashed 75 million bushels from U.S. corn exports, with more cuts likely. Sluggish export pace is to blame. The agency also cut 3 million metric tons of wheat production in Argentina, but bumped Australia by 2.1 million metric tons. Ukraine corn production was cut 4.5 million metric tons, but exports were increased by 2 million metric tons. Overall, pretty benign report. That leaves the markets to drift into the holidays. Traders will focus on next week's Federal Reserve meeting on the macro side and how that weighs into money flow into the markets. But overall, markets should drift with South American weather becoming the focus, with a good weather in Brazil and dryness in Argentina. Cattle futures found some support on Friday, with the hog trade moderately lower on Friday's session to wrap up the week. Final numbers on Friday: March quart up 1.5, 644. May quart up 1, 645 1/4. January beans down 2.5, 1483 3/4. March down 2 at 1488 1/4. January bean meal up 5.20 a ton, 471.60. January bean oil down 130.6001. March Chicago wheat 12 lower, 734 1/4. May down 11.5, 744 3/4. March Kansas City wheat down 11 3/4 at 833. Spring wheat for March, that finished the session down 7 3/4, 901 3/4. May down 7 at 9 3/4. Live cattle December up 125, 153.67. February up 162, 155.55. Feeder cattle January up 45, 183.92. March feeders up 5 at 185.10. December hogs down 42, 81.57. February hogs down 70 at 84 even. That's closing markets on the American Ag Network. I'm Jesse Allen reporting.
And welcome back to Weather at Ag in Focus. I want to thank everybody for joining us this afternoon on this Friday. And boy, we've got a lot to talk about here in the last segment. We're going to hit, we don't have a lot of time, but let's hit national weather real quick. The storm system that is going to affect us is we'll be pulling inland into California as we head into tomorrow. And man, is that going to give a lot of snow to the Sierra Nevada range. They've already picked up so far this season anywhere between 150% and 200% of average snowfall. They're expected to get another 4 to 5 feet of snow. And that's great news for the water cycle out there, because California's been extremely dry. So great news for them. We need a little bit more of that into the Rockies. So
right. And Dean, I think we should clarify that that's up to today's date, not the entire season.
Correct. Yeah, just to date, that is. So that's really, really great news out there. That system will be riding across the Rockies, and it's going to be a slow mover. That means a lot of moisture going to get pulled in from the Gulf of Mexico. And as it does, initially it may start out as a rain-snow mix, maybe a little freezing rain mixed in there. And the timing on that would probably be Monday night into Tuesday morning, and then quickly changing over to all snow. More than likely, it's going to be all snow out to our west. Best chance of any mixed precip off the bat would be along the Red River Valley and into Lakes Country in Minnesota. Snow gets really ramped up on Tuesday, it looks like, with heavy snow, a good bed along with quite a bit of wind. And then we'll see how much dry air gets sucked into this system on Wednesday, because that could shut the snow off or push it to our north a little bit. Even if that happens, it still looks like we're going to get a healthy amount. Now, some areas in the Dakotas, and it's keying out into probably the central part of the state down into central South Dakota, could get over a foot of snow with this easily. So this is something we'll be keeping a close eye on over the next few days, and you'll want to check out our social media over the weekend. We will be updating what our thoughts are on this storm system, but this one is it's going to produce some travel trouble. So if you have any travel planned for next Tuesday through Thursday within the Dakotas or Minnesota, please keep up to date on the forecast and might want to just alter those travel plans right now. I've had quite a few people email me this morning asking about what does next Wednesday, what does next Tuesday look like. I'm like, just change your plans. That's the safest thing. I don't foresee this missing us. We might miss out on the heaviest part of the snow, but I don't foresee this. This is going to have an impact on our area one way or the other as we head into next week. So kind of plan accordingly. Make sure you have that winter weather survival kit in your car. The good news is after that storm system passes, we'll have some pretty quiet weather, at least for a little bit as temperatures cool down. But temperatures throughout the event are going to be pretty close to the freezing mark. So this is going to be that wet, heavy snow, it looks like, and that's the stuff you don't want to shovel. That's the stuff you want to use a snowblower for sure. So, again, we'll be keeping you up to date on that as we head throughout the weekend. And then Monday we'll have a very good track and handle on this system as it pulls out of the Rockies.
It's definitely going to get interesting. I think that's what everyone can say at the least. That's what we do know.
And we need the moisture. You know,
we definitely do.
Yeah.
It's going to bring a good amount of moisture to the area, just like what you said, Dean. Who's going to get the most? Just a little too unclear at this moment. But we'll fine-tune that as we head throughout this weekend and especially into the beginning of next week. So stay tuned right here. We'll give you updates all the time. Bridgette, why don't we conclude this show for a Friday before our weekend kicks off? A couple things I wanted to get to, but I want to know what this potato farmer's donation to Grand Forks Homeless Shelter was all about.
We always like to end Fridays on a high note, and one of them is that the Northlands Rescue Mission in Grand Forks received donations from local farmers of red potatoes grown right here in the Red River Valley. They were able to bring in over 300 pounds of potatoes in October, and there will be more on its way. They're looking at another 300 pounds. This brings about 225 daily meals that can be served because of the addition of the potatoes, and Nodak Packers at Buxton helps coordinate the effort to get those potatoes right in to the shelter where it's needed most. So one good high note for the weekend. And another high note, thank you to everyone who is listening today. We greatly appreciate you taking the time to hear what we have to say and listen to our fabulous guests. We will keep you up to date on the weather, as both meteorologists are going to do that. Keep an eye on that storm track so you can plan your travel and be safe while you're doing it. We are going to be done for the day. Really enjoyed having you along. And we'll be heading into the Jay Thomas Show right after this.
Whether you're streaming, gaming, or connecting, you can count on Sparklight for fast, reliable internet. Because Sparklight knows that faster is just better. Sparklight, a stronger connection.
970 WDAY AM and 93.1 FM, Fargo-Moorhead.
WDAY News First, this is Ty Schoenert. An update to a story we've been following for you since last month. A Fargo Public Schools band teacher facing several charges involving an inappropriate relationship with a student has resigned from his role with the district. Sebastian Tackling resigned from his position as a band teacher at Fargo South High School effective on December 5th. Tackling, who had been with the Fargo schools for over 12 years, has been charged with corruption of a minor and possession of child pornography related to a supposed inappropriate relationship with a then 17-year-old student. Tackling had been previously on administrative leave pending the outcome of the investigation into the charges. The school board will vote on their December 13th meeting to accept his resignation. There will be no further review of the deadly officer-involved shooting of Shane Netterville in Fargo. The Fargo Police Advisory and Oversight Board decided last night that no external review is necessary. Some board members, as well as the Human Rights Commission, have been asking for an outside investigation for several months. Fargo Police released their investigative report involving the shooting on July 8th. And a Minneapolis attorney now on the federal bench in Minnesota, Jerry Blackwell, was confirmed this morning by the U.S. Senate as President Joe Biden's nomination. He was cleared on a 51-43 vote. Blackwell gained national attention last year for helping to prosecute ex-Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin for the murder of George Floyd. I'm Ty Schoenert, WDAY and WDAYRadioNow.com. First is the news when you need to know.
You love playing golf together with friends, having a beverage, making birdies, and your swing feels great, and the good times don't have to end. Keep your clubs and your game warm at Sweet Shots. Meet your foursome at Fargo's only year-round outdoor golf complex, featuring top tracer technology, full-service bars, meeting and event spaces, and a chef-inspired menu. Play iconic courses and fun games in heated bays, or work on your game with PGA pros in the Academy. Sweet Shots Fargo. Fun, heated golf. Open year-round.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The White House says Brittany Griner and her wife Sherelle have been reunited. The WNBA star arrived in Texas after her release from a Russian prison. ABC's Jim Ryan is in San Antonio, where Griner first met with military medical doctors.
Happy? Well.
In video captured shortly after her release, Brittany Griner was laughing and chatting with the U.S. officials who would escort her back to the States. After arriving at Kelly Field here in San Antonio before dawn Friday, Griner appeared to step off the plane without any help. National Security Council Coordinator John Kirby said Griner was in good spirits and appeared to be in good health as she made her way here. Jim Ryan, ABC News, San Antonio.
The U.S. says it will continue to push for the release of former Marine Paul Whelan and